Hey, Leslie.
What's up, man? How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. How you doing? Thanks for being here, my brother.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, man. Can you hear me all good?
Uh, yeah, all good, bro. All good. I was just watching a lot of your podcasts over the past couple of months. Actually, this past January, I came across that Hustle and Flow podcast.
Okay.
That's a pretty good stuff, bro.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, man.
How long
Appreciate
have you
the
been?
support.
Yeah, I actually found your channel by accident. So it's it's been a good kind of experience to have, watching you in those podcasts. Before we start, bro, I just wanted to ask you a couple of things about how's it going down there, the situations, pandemic wise. What's happening? What's up?
Yeah, it's a bit wild, man. It's a bit wild, to be honest. I'm in Sydney, so
Yeah,
lockdown, still in full force.
yeah,
The cases there. I'm not keeping tabs, too closely, but they do seem to be, steady day on day.
right,
So
right.
yeah, essentially, I think they're waiting for, an aspirational vaccination rate before things can be eased. So, so yeah,
Yeah, so you've been staying at home for the past couple of months, or what's been happening?
yeah, man, yeah, man. Being at home, there's no difference for me. No difference for me, to be honest. I operate from home anyway, my home office. So there's not a huge
Right.
impact on me, fortunately. So yeah,
I saw this mentoring program that you put out on your Instagram account.
yeah.
So you're into that meditation process. Take me through that and explain to me a little bit about that, bro.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, man. My earphones seem to be running out of battery, they just told me, so I'm gonna switch to the wired ones.
Roger that. Take your time.
Sorry for the just give me 1 second. Let me plug these things in.
No problem, dude. Take your time.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you just fine.
All right. So sorry, repeat the question.
Fuck, I forgot. Hang on a minute. All right, yeah, mentoring program. I saw that on your Instagram bio.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, tell me a bit about that, bro. How long have you been doing that? The kind of
Mm.
clients that you have over the past couple of months, a year, so.
Yeah, yeah. So you mentioned mentoring, and you also mentioned meditation. I sort of do
Right,
these
right,
two
right.
things differently. I guess meditation is a really effective tool that I've used for, many, many years. And 7 to 8 years, I've had a pretty solid practice.
Wow.
But with regards to mentoring, my background, I spent about 12 years in, senior leadership, project management, that type of role in a corporate space. So I learned a lot from there, although it wasn't
Yeah.
obviously where I wanted to be, career wise. But I took a
Right.
lot of those skills away and started finding space. I think it was 2019 when I started, and I, started taking clients, and mentoring people from a different lens, less career focused, and more geared towards self-discovery and exploration and things like this. So I've been doing it since 2019, on my own.
Right. That's a it's a pretty long time, bro, with the mentoring and the meditation program that you got going on for a couple of years now. More than
Mm.
8 to 9 years, you said?
Yeah, yeah. So I've been practicing myself for about 7 to 8 years, and the program itself, again, started pretty much a similar time to when I launched Finding Space officially. I think that was in
Right.
2019. Yeah, yeah.
What you said that you didn't see yourself career-wise in this kind of path. So what were the original plan that you had going on back then?
Oh, I think that I've told this story a lot, and I've have had a lot of time to reflect upon, my past life, if you would call that. And,
Right.
in the corporate space, it was something that I was just following the lead of others and the advice of people, and potentially just following a path that, would please my parents essentially and those around me. It was the normal path of chasing a successful corporate role in finance and
Right.
banking,
Right.
things like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just followed that path. But in 2013 was the big catalyst for me when everything changed. I've told
Yeah.
the story quite a few times on the podcast itself. If people don't know, in 2013 I got diagnosed with cancer very suddenly, and it sort of
Come
made
again?
me.
What kind of cancer? Sorry, man. Come again?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with cancer. It was called a nasopharyngeal carcinoma. So basically, it's in between the throat and the nasal passage.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, yeah. So when I was sort of moving through life and just going through the motions, so to speak, I always knew that it wasn't really what I wanted to do, but I was
Yeah.
never brave enough to ask those questions and really challenge that and take the dive, so to speak. But when you're hit with something like cancer, it really pulls the rug from underneath your feet, and that's when I started my personal journey of really exploring what it was that my life really meant for me as an individual. So that's led me to this path to this day.
Right. That's freaking fascinating, bro. I mean, not the cancer, obviously, the process that you got to go through in order for you to get to where you are
Mm.
right now. So I got nothing but respect for you, man.
Oh, thank you, bro.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not saying that I would do better in your position when I got some bad news when it comes to my health, but hearing those words alone, man, I mean, it kind of freaks me out a little bit, you know? So that will be your turning point, so to speak.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I personally felt like I needed that. I really needed that.
Right,
Whenever I look back, and people will react differently when I tell them about
right,
this news about me having, been diagnosed with cancer and going through 7 to 8 months of some pretty invasive treatment, chemo, radiotherapy, all these sorts of things. But it was 100%. It was a blessing in disguise. Like, it was the best thing that's ever happened to me, honestly. Um,
right.
because without it, I would probably still be at the desk in my corporate job and essentially
Yeah,
hating my
nine to
life.
five.
Yeah,
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 right, right. Okay.
yeah.
So how did you get around to that? Obviously, in that scenario when you got the diagnosis and obviously the recovery process, the therapies and all of that, how did you manage to lift yourself up a little bit to motivate yourself and kind of tell yourself this is just a path that I gotta go through. There's a bigger things going on up ahead. I'm just gonna go and aim myself for that and just gotta get through this. How
Mm,
how do you do that? How do you lift yourself up like that?
mm. Well, I guess I would say there's two things. Like, firstly, I guess I was lucky in that the process moved very quickly. I felt like I was diagnosed one moment, and then the next moment I was going through the entire, treatment process. I had to get like the
Right.
initial surgery. It was very quick. Everything went very quick. So I really didn't have a lot of time to, process it from an emotional standpoint. I really didn't. And
Right.
especially that being such a shock from to my family and things like, and the people around me. They were very supportive as well, and they were always around, and maybe sometimes too much attention and
Right.
things like this. But
Yeah.
it took away my attention from it essentially, and really thinking about that impact of it from an emotional standpoint. Secondly, as part of the treatment, I was only 20 something when I got diagnosed, and they assigned me a psychologist to support me through the emotional process of dealing with diagnosis and everything that comes with that, right? And she suggested that I try out meditation. And I haven't
Mm.
really tried it or dabbled in it much, up in that to that point. I've heard of it. Obviously, I'm from an Eastern background, so I sort of I know of it. But it was not until I developed a consistent practice that,
Hmm.
I was really able to see life very differently. So,
Right, right. Okay. So now, how many clients do you have now actively working with you every single week or 2 weeks? How
yeah,
many clients
so,
do you have now?
look, I've got a few different programs. So
Yeah, yeah,
I've got a meditation program that is hands off. That is a self-guided program that people can jump on, and I just support them through the digital learning platform, right? So I have a bunch of clients
yeah.
through that space. And with my mentoring, I only ever take on, a maximum of 5 or 6 clients at a time. That is so
Right,
that, from a bandwidth standpoint and, an emotional investment and my focus can be applied adequately. And I feel like that's a good number for me. I'm not about, volume or quantity. I really want to, if I'm working with someone, I will, invest my time properly and give them the focus and attention that is necessary. And
right.
on the side with that, like you said, you've listened to some of my the podcast episodes that I've run, the Hustle and Flow podcast. My co-host Sean and I, we also run a program a few times a year, where it's a group mentoring program, and we take on 10 people at a time over a 6-week period, and we run them through a similar process of a 6-week sort of deep dive into self-exploration and discovery. So yeah, those are generally the things that I work on.
Right, right. Okay. So I may be wrong about this, but um, has a client ever came to you with all kinds of problems, and then you would channel yourself from that, cancer stuff you had to go through, and telling them that in order for you to create mental resiliency and toughness, sometimes life would throw you a curveball, which kind of, allows you to make a choice on whether to adapt or to adjust and eventually overcome, or do the whole entire process and just adapt to the current situation and eventually overcome. Have you ever channeled your past, health problems in order to motivate someone like that? Have you ever, kind of tell your clients that you have been gone through the cancer treatments in the past? Do you mind
Um,
if we talk about this?
No, no, of course not. Of course not. Open book, mate.
Okay.
So I don't mind talking about
Yeah.
this at all. If anyone listens to the podcast, I talk about this quite openly. But
Right.
to be honest, like, it's with how I approach my clients, it's really just based on what I feel they need at the time. And more than anything else, it's simply just guidance and a third person perspective to help them see or point out some blind spots that they may not be able to see. In terms of like the cancer stuff, it's a story that I tell. It's part of my story, and it's a very important part of my story. But
Right.
it's not something that I sort of use to say, I've overcome this, so can you, type thing.
Yeah. Right.
But in saying that, I do believe that, hardships and turmoil and challenges and difficulty in life, they just come in different shapes and forms for everyone. Mine is just cancer. Yours might be something else. Doesn't mean they can't be compared, because they're experienced from two different lenses of perspective. And I think that's very important. It's not so much about framing the particular, you know, um, the dire situation of being diagnosed with cancer versus you having a bad day or anything like this. It's that they can't be compared. The severity of that is felt on an individual basis. So it's more about
Hmm.
really just understanding that these types of things in life, they're unavoidable. That is the reality of things. So we can
Right.
choose to respond to them in the way that we choose. We can be expansive, make choices that are expansive to ourselves, or make choices that are contractive, hide away and suppress all that stuff inside, and inevitably maybe deal with it later down the line. And I truly believe that cancer for myself was a symptom of that. You know,
Right.
like I
Right.
said, there were many things that I really felt like, at
Yeah.
least from a visceral standpoint, I always felt in somewhere in my body that, you know, I needed to address something,
Right.
but I pushed it down, and perhaps that was contributed to it being manifest into its physical form of an illness like cancer. So it might be different for everyone. So yeah.
Right. Right. Okay. All right. So look, I'm not I'm a master when it comes to meditation. I've tried a couple of times, and one of the biggest problems for me is that um, for me to focus on my breathing, just a lot of people come to me and say, just focus on your breathing first and see where it goes from there. It's kind of hard for me, man, to kind of tune in for the next 2 or 3 minutes, just focusing on my breathing, right? But I do understand that when it comes to meditation, it comes with repetitions. What I mean by that is every time I kind of lost sight to that, finding my breathing and whatever, and then
Mm.
afterwards, maybe tomorrow or the next day, I will try again for a longer period of time. Like let's say I got 2 minutes down today, probably I'm gonna get 3 minutes down tomorrow. Is that how it works? I mean, how do you focus on your breathing technique so much, knowing that you have something that you got to do at the end of the day. Let's just set that for example.
Yeah, I mean that's the modern problem, the modern intellectual problem with meditation.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah,
just like anything, if you feel that it's going to be something that is important to you, and you want to, achieve it in a or walk the path of, mastery potentially, then you need to adapt yourself and you need to apply yourself to it. It's just like, if you go to the gym, if you want to, lose weight or gain muscle, whatever it is,
yeah,
like, right?
yeah,
It's the difference between stepping through the door and sitting on your phone whilst you're sort of half-assed, like, curling a barbell or whatever it is. And, really
yeah, yeah.
applying yourself to it and really, focusing on the practice. I think that's the main
Right,
thing. For me, I think that that's a very common, you know, problem that people have when they start meditation. And I always say, look,
right.
it is the best way is just look. There's a practice period, and I'm very transparent about my personal, experience with it. It took me 18
Yeah.
months before I had a, disciplined practice, but it took me
Wow, that
18
that long,
months. Yeah, correct.
that long, eh?
Correct. Yeah. So, 18 months of me being intentional about wanting to, learn and be, a student to this art,
Right.
and not wavering from that. Obviously, there was days where I sort of, lost focus more than others. But it's about, then understanding what it is that I done wrong or potentially did wrong the day before, and then trying to rectify that the next day. But yeah, like it is more a symptom of the busyness of the modern lifestyle than the practice
Mm,
itself. I truly believe that the pace of meditation and that level of deep breathing and that slowness, if you want to call it that, that pace of living is closer to what is natural to us humans than how we live now. Everything go 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 go. We eventually burn
yeah,
out and we need to rest, and then before we
yeah,
can go again. So
yeah. Yeah, I agree completely, bro. When it comes to, I think I call this the technological revolution when everything is so damn instant nowadays.
yeah, exactly.
People would immediately, do something and post it up on social media just to get likes without actually concerning themselves with the value or the point of them posting it out anyway to begin with. I think we need to be better at rediscovering boredom. I
Yeah,
know that sounds a
absolutely.
bit dark and a little bit, out there. But yeah, I think we need to rediscover the word boredom. That's when we tend to scatter focus, not to focus on one thing and one task at the end of the day, but to scatter focus and to explore what it is that kind of makes us and make our lives enjoyable in a lot of ways. And that takes a lot of time. And like you said, with same thing with meditation, it's going to take some time to practice. And rediscovering boredom as well. I think it's gonna take some time to practice to accept that, especially when we got our smartphones literally at our disposal, right? And we
Yeah,
just can't
man.
sit around for 5 minutes not doing anything without actually touching our phones.
Yeah.
scrolling up and down the feeds and everything like that, knowing that there's nothing new on those feeds anyway, but you kept on doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just
Yeah.
it's a really weird time we're dealing with right now.
Yeah.
So okay, I've done a bit of a newbie research when it comes to meditations. It says that there are three criteria of meditations. The first one is the use of defined technique. The second one is the logic relaxation and self-induced state or mode. What were those? Can you please enlighten me a little bit?
Look, I'm the way that I see meditation, right? And there's so many
Yeah,
ways that and so different, so many different approaches out there
right,
that claim to address this or that. To me, it's really about understanding what the principles are and the foundations of what meditation is. And it's really
right.
simple. It's really simple, but paradoxically, it's a very difficult practice, right? It's a very simple
It
thing, but
is.
it is very difficult in practice. And I think that, that is part of the difficulty of people trying to, or getting a grasp of that, the simplicity
Right,
of
right,
practice. Like if you understand literally what the words just be are, that is what meditation is. Do not interpret those two words with anything else, just by understanding the literal definition of what that is to you. you know just be,
right.
just sit, you know
Mm,
without any other direction. If you only
mm,
understand those two words, in a very literal sense,
mm.
you're on your way. You're on your way. you know and
Right.
then it's
Okay.
really about understanding, you shift from this busy state of mind of thinking, and then it's more of a felt experience. When you start to understand that meditation, you become you are induced into a meditative state. So the way that I sort of explain it so that people can best understand is that the feeling you get when you take a really deep breath, and then you just make a big exhale, big sigh, and that
Yeah.
feeling that flows through your body. you know
Yeah.
it feels
Yeah. Yeah.
really beautiful. Really beautiful feeling sensation that goes through your body. You feel all relaxed for like a split second. It's about
Right.
really
Right.
finding that whilst you're just
Right.
sitting, and
Right.
trying
Right.
to hold that feeling or chase that feeling, and really
Right.
expand that,
Right.
from 1 second to 2 seconds to 3 seconds to 4 seconds to 2 hours to three
Mm,
hours, 4 hours.
mm.
So that's the practice. It's a less of an intellectual thing. We're trying to drop out of our mind and into our bodies and really just feel
Right. Okay.
everything that is moving through us. And for beginners, if I was to, outside of these two words of just be, and
Yeah.
helping people to understand, I would say start with a very short period of time, 2 to 5 minutes,
Mm, mm.
whatever is comfortable to you. But also,
Right.
find an anchor. An anchor is a very, helpful tool. And what I mean by an anchor is just something that you can return to every time that you notice that your mind is wandering. So say you're meditating and you're going really well, and then all of a sudden you start thinking about, oh, what's for dinner? Oh yeah, I got some
Right.
broccoli in the fridge. Yeah, oh, but I had
Right.
broccoli last night. And it goes like, oh,
Broccoli,
maybe I should
chicken,
bring you some
rice.
pizza. All that sort of thing. And
Yeah.
when you
Yeah. Yeah.
notice that, bring yourself
Yeah.
back to your anchor. So the most common anchor to use, because it's constant, is your breath. So you
All right.
return to
Okay.
your
So
breath.
so so it's okay to have that moment when you actually think about the things that you're gonna have
Absolutely.
for dinner, and then you
Look,
come back to your anchor. All right. Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Look, it's a misconception that we stop thinking, right? In
Right. Right.
meditation. It's impossible for us to
Right.
stop thinking. The only time we can
Right.
stop thinking is when we die. So if
Yeah.
you're not
Well. Yeah.
thinking, then you're dead.
When your brain starts are dead. Yes.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Okay. So how do we relate this to self-awareness? How can meditation help with self-awareness? I mean, the process. I know I'm a big advocate on self-awareness and mental hygiene and
Mm,
emotional hygiene. I've made tons of videos about that, and I would prefer the process as to recognizing your patterns of behavior on how do you respond to failures, how do you respond to rejections, how do you respond to frustrations and anger. You're going to be able to see your response in every single difficult moments in your life. Some of my clients would ask me, how do we do that? Especially when it comes to relationship. And I would tell them, well, you could ask your exes, in the past. They would probably say one thing that is the same about you over and over again. You start from there. Start from there. One thing that has the commonality with, with the things that your previous ex is saying about you. So you start from there. I mean, that's my part of telling my clients on how to raise your mental capacity until realizing that you do have the need to be self-aware. And I told them as well, not to treat psychological injuries lightly. You know what I'm saying? Like physical injuries, we have to close the gap essentially. When it comes to physical injuries, or you hit your head, or on the door or something like that, you would immediately go to your kitchen cabinet and find some remedies, right? Or you got the flu, you immediately go to your kitchen cabinet and find the Panadols or some shit. But when it comes to psychological injuries, we tend to kind of sweep it under the rug, put it in the back burner, hoping that it's going to get better. When in fact, it is actually conflict delayed, and later on in life, it'll be multiplied, the conflicts. So I wanted to know your take. How can I combine that kind of processes, intellectually thinking about stuff, and actually just be? How can we achieve that together? How can it help?
Yeah, for sure. Look, firstly, meditation is a tool, just like anything else. Just like, your advice and guidance, the way of asking one of your exes about self-awareness and things like this. And, if you think about it that way, what is that,
Right.
that exercise and process trying to do? That is asking for a third party who has observed you from a different set of eyes to tell you about something that you may not have seen. Just the same way that, from a coaching and mentoring standpoint, it's exactly the same sort of, dynamic there, right? Meditation is no different, but it is like a self-guided way of doing this. You are able to separate yourself from this identity of, what I call myself, Leslie. I can see myself from the third person, without being too like esoteric and spiritual about it, right? It's just about like a deep level of awareness and observation of what is going on, internally and externally. And then instead of like reacting to it, like you said, I can choose to respond how I feel is best suited to the situation based on, what I believe and my principles and values and things like this.
Right. Okay. So meditation could help with the self-awareness, journey that people might have.
Look, to be honest, it's like to me, it's like one of the things that really like underpins, self-awareness and mindfulness practice. I feel like it is one of the most powerful ones because again, like you said, it's this paradox between this technological world that is so fast paced and how do we, harmonize as humans who clearly do not operate at that level, at that speed. We clearly do not, and we cannot. Technology is, moving faster than we are able to evolve. That is clear. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So,
we're not ready. Yeah.
So meditation, it allows us to operate at a pace and a level that is more in tune with who we are, innately, regardless of what the environment, is outside. We get to choose. Regardless of what the environment is happening, whatever circumstances, situation that is external to us, we have, complete control and, awareness and understanding of our internal world. And then we get to choose how we operate,
Right. Okay. So during this pandemic with the past almost 2 years, obviously a lot of people would struggle with the situations. Their options are being limited. They're not allowed to go outside. They're not allowed to, to socialize. I mean, the thing for me is that I was never a person who likes to go out every single weekend. You know what I'm saying? So I would rather stay at home if I don't have any plans to go out, right? But I didn't have any problem back then, staying at home. But right now, knowing that my option of going out is limited, it's restricted. even though I like being inside, but I still feel the struggle. You know what I'm saying? So I think coming back to your point of having options and choices, the fact that I was actually frustrated about my choice being taken away, my choice to go outside being taken away. Not the fact that whether I do like to go outside or not, but the choice has been taken away. So, if anything, the situation right now is ideal for us to actually spend a lot of time with ourselves and do meditation and to meditate. You know what I'm saying? To practice, like you said, it took you 18 months to perfect your craft. So it's not an instant kind of result that you can actually see. It is a repetition process, ongoing process over and over again. So, is there any of your clients who came to you and said that they were actually struggling with this pandemic? And how is your approach so far? Is it still the same like before, pre-COVID, or what's the deal there? How do you handle it?
Look, like I said, it's going to be different for every client, and of course, there's people around me that are struggling for sure in different ways,
Right.
But like I said, I hinted at it a little bit. What the beauty of meditation and being able to observe everything that's going on within you, how emotions move through your body as things from the outside world stimulate that. For example, if before jumping onto this live call, I felt some level of anxious energy just moving through my body naturally, just because I'm coming to speak to someone that I've never spoken to before across the world. I noticed that, right? And the point I'm trying to make is that regardless of what's happening outside, if you have agency and control of your internal world and your internal state, you can choose how to experience whatever is happening outside. It's your choice, because at the end of the day, everyone's life is experienced not from the outside, it's experienced from the inside. It's experienced through your eyes, through your mind. Your mind will paint the picture for you that you are experiencing. The movie is not seen outside. It's a movie that is created in your mind, right? So if you have the agency, the control, and the ability to, see this and then direct it how you like, then it doesn't matter what's happening outside. If you're clear on, what you want to do and achieve in this life, then you can always point it back in that direction, no matter what external roadblock, presents itself, because those things are outside of your control.
Right. Okay, so you're saying that we should focus on the things that we can actually control, and that is our mind and the way they actually respond to things.
Yeah,
That's
I mean that's always like what I can always to me that's the most empowering thing, because it's the difference between if you use the analogy of a path, and you're walking this path of life, and you're seeing like you wish that the path was easy and straight and smoothly paved, and the destination is clearly set out in front of you, but inevitably trees are going to fall, there's going to be rocks that are there's going to be roadblocks and things like this. It's akin to wishing that those things weren't there, instead of just climbing over the tree or doing what you need to do in that moment, right? It's like a futile use of your emotional energy to wish something wasn't there when it is, reality. It's like the ultimate example, I feel, is like, when people ignore the reality of death, and don't want to talk about it because it's a scary thing. But it's probably the only, it's probably the only fact in life outside of, birth, the thing that you can pin down. Birth and death is the only thing that is actually, 100%, unavoidable in life, So why avoid it? So why think like it's not there? Why act like it's not there? Instead of living in a way so that you can, you understand that those, those limitations are there in your existence. So yeah, it's
Right,
just a,
right.
like
Yeah.
it's
Look,
just a reframe there.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Talking about death, I mean, I think about that very often, but over the past 10 or probably 15 years. And the one thing that actually has been doing good for me by thinking about that over and over again is the fact that I watch the way that I eat and the stuff that I put into my body. So I would really take good care of myself a little bit more, thinking about that. Talking about whether I'm actually scared or having this fear of death or not, obviously I do, but uh, knowing that, like you said, knowing that the only thing that's actually certain after we were born is death. I
Mm,
mean that's just the reality of life. I'm not going to be avoidant of that reality. So
mm,
when I think about that over and over again, it kind of prompted me, motivated me to realize that I got to live my life, as cliche as this may sound, to the fullest. And I don't want to say I have survived my life. I want to say that I have lived it. I want to live my life the way that I wanted to live it. And then
mm,
it goes back to your previous point that says, when you said it's all about the internal kind of factors that is actually incongruent with the whole entire surroundings that you are in, and letting yourself control the stuff that you can actually control rather than some stuff that is actually outside the external factors. But we cannot deny, I cannot deny anyway, I cannot deny that external factors has some impact, right?
100%.
And has an impact on my life. And people's opinions sometimes would drive me crazy and drive me insane a little bit. But I would find myself, look, I'm not gonna lie. I've been trying to practice meditation over the past couple of months. I'm still new at this. I know about meditation as a concept, but I just put myself on it over the past couple of months. And like I said, I've been sometimes when I was first starting it out, I was frustrated because I couldn't actually focus on my breathing in like 2 minutes. And I kept telling myself, what the hell is wrong with you? It's only 2 minutes and focusing on your breathing, and you're only thinking about the next task, that you got to do. Just focus on your breathing for the next 2 minutes. I mean, it's different from me if I was sitting down on my sofa thinking about me and the way that I process a lot of stuff that is actually going on in my life. My thought process, focusing on myself, is different than just really focusing on myself.
Yeah.
Just be, like you said. And
Yeah.
then I was frustrated really over the past couple, over the first couple of weeks when I was actually trying this out. So, well, when I heard you that you just it took you 18 months to perfect this, well, yeah, I'm in a good spot right now. So yeah.
Look, man. Look, 18 months to develop a discipline, a strong discipline. Like I still
Yeah.
consider myself a student. And I honestly feel like I will forever be a student of the practice of meditation.
Right.
But I may be ahead of some people. That's all. I'll send you the first chapter of my program for free. You can have a crack at it.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh,
So
dude, yeah,
give that a go.
that's good. Yeah, yeah, man, yeah, man. So, did you actually put a timeline in your program? So you give me a surface kind of information of the stuff that you're actually doing
Yeah.
right now, like the program. How does it work?
Yeah. So the
What can we
program.
expect? What can we expect? Yeah.
Mm-mm. So the program is like I think there's 7 modules, and then there's 3 bonus modules, right? And they're all
All right.
guided modules with over an hour of tutorial videos, and then I think there's like 30 plus hours of recorded guided meditations that you can follow if you like. It comes with an ebook, and yeah, there is a timeline, but it's
Mm.
only a suggested timeline. I would say that the
So it's not
timeline
a yeah, yeah, okay.
the timeline is
It's not a
minimum.
fixed thing.
It's minimum. So I say
All right.
minimum 7 months, minimum seven
Okay.
months, to go from,
Mm.
start to end. But I prefer and I suggest to people take as much time as you need. Like if it takes you 18 months, take 18 months. The point of it is
Right.
to really, dive deep into the practice, each like split out module, you know, from, your very first 5 minute practice all the way up until your 90-minute practice. Start very slow,
Mm.
but don't progress until you get it. You feel it.
Okay.
you know.
All right. Okay.
That's sort of like the way that I teach, not particularly based on any like, particular doctrine or religion or anything like this. It's simply based
All
on
right.
my personal journey on meditation. I learned, from a conventional a teaching standpoint, so I can teach and run workshops. But I also lived in a Zen Buddhist monastery in Japan for a time, and learned,
Wow.
directly from a monk. So I take all these learnings, and I put it into the program, based on how I understand the practice and the art of meditation. And
Mm.
I try and distill it in the most simple and simple to understand way for people to really dive deep. But like I said, the most important factor in my program in itself is that the intention to learn must be there. Just like when I started and I stuck on it for 18 months, the intention to learn must be there. Otherwise, that really defines the success or failure of your practice. And I believe that in all walks of life.
All right. You said that a little bit about spending a lot of time, not a lot of time, some time in the Japanese monastery in Japan. Can you tell me a little bit about that, the experience, and what did you get coming out of it?
Well, finding space was born from that experience, to be honest. Um, you know,
Right. Okay.
yeah. So, I went there in, I think it was 2018. Um,
Yeah.
and I basically just had a yearning to remove myself from the busy Western world, for a time. I just had a
Right.
yearning to do that. So I've always had a close, affinity towards and gravitation towards Japan and the culture. So I sort of knew that it would be there. But I also purposely chose a monastery that was in quite a remote town. It was on the southern island of Japan, very far away from Tokyo. It was a small fishing village. It took me like, a plane ride and a domestic plane ride and a train and a bus and a, taxi and all these different
Damn.
modes to get to the
Right.
monastery, right? So it was very
Yeah.
remote.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know what? Like, it was amazing, like to speak to this Western approach of trying to learn. Like I went there and I was like to the monk, teach
Yeah.
me, teach me, sit me down and lecture me about Zen Buddhism and teach me all that you know. And his response was always like, oh nah, maybe next time, or he'd be very like just standoffish about it and then go about his way. um
Really?
yeah, yeah. And
Oh
you know
wow.
what,
Okay.
that I realized, on the third day that, this was just 3 days away from home. Um,
Mm.
there was a moment when we were out and we were going to get some supplies and things like this, and we were driving back from the store, and I was just sitting in the passenger seat. And like I said, it's in a fishing village, so it's beautiful surroundings, near the ocean. And I think it was like a mid-afternoon because the sun felt like it was mid-afternoon, but I had no idea what time it was, no idea
Yeah.
what day it was, had no idea, how long I had been there. It felt like I had been at the
Right. Right.
monastery forever, but that was only my third day. And
Mm.
in that moment, I lost sense of everything in my life that wasn't important to me, my job, my properties that I own, the money in my bank, my family, my home, everything. Only like, the people who are important to me, my wife and a handful of close friends and family, they seemed real. Everything else seemed like a dream, really felt like a dream. Um,
Mm.
and that was the moment I realized, it was an epiphany for me because I felt really that, when you're truly in presence to a particular moment, then, it's really a timeless thing. There is no past or future really, when you are in the present. There's only the present now, the present now, the present now. There is only
Oh, that
now.
is good.
You know,
That is
presence is
good. That
timeless.
is good.
Presence is timeless.
Right. You
Um,
being fully present at the stuff that is actually right in front of you, actually appreciating that, celebrating that, cherishing that. I mean, that is golden what you just said. That is good.
yeah.
Go on.
So
Sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
no,
Yeah.
no, no. Look, that moment really is when, finding space came to be. Like, at that moment, like, I was like, oh, why did I come here? I came here to find space, you know? This
All
is the
right,
pursuit. This
right.
is the pursuit,
All right.
you know? So this
Finding
is
space. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, but yeah, like, towards the end of my stay there, like, I realized that, the whole time that the monk was still so standoffish and not teaching me. Um, but I realized that that's how he was teaching me, because he was living so presently in every single moment. He wasn't like projecting forward. He
All
wasn't even
right.
thinking about anything in the day. We'd sit for meditation for like, 5 hours a day. We wouldn't even think about what we're going to have to eat. He would just make it up on the fly. And I just realized he was living so presently and contently in life. He was at peace. He was the happiest person I've ever met in my life, and that's got to tell
Mm.
you something. That tells you something, there's some pretty miserable, like, millionaires and billionaires out there,
Oh,
um,
that's true. True.
yeah,
Yeah. Lonely people. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Look, listen. I could understand if I could understand probably the monks' standpoint when they were actually isolated in an area when there's no one around. So the I would I want to say this, but I just don't want to sound wrong. But it would be quote unquote easier for them to actually stay in the present. So what I want to know is how did you translate those kind of mindset and outlook of life from the Japanese monastery when you told me yourself you just didn't know how long you've been there, how many days that have passed, you just don't
mm,
know. And then how did you translate that approach and that outlook coming back to Sydney and
yep.
surrounded with this, hectic stuff that's actually going on around you? How did you translate that?
Mm. You know what? It's funny, man. Look, it comes back to the inner world, but I want to tell it through a couple of stories, right? So
Right.
after the
Okay.
stay in the monastery, I afterwards I met my wife
Bro, I can't hear you. I think I lost you a little
in
bit.
Japan.
Right, right, okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, you're back now. Okay, you were gone for a couple of
Yeah.
seconds, but you're back. Go on.
Yeah, so yeah, I rejoined my wife in Tokyo in Shinjuku Station, and there was, literally thousands of people, and I came from a place where, there was such peace and serenity back into this fray of, like, hustle and bustle, and I felt exactly what you said. It was really like, it shook me to the core. Just like, holy shit, I'm losing my zen.
Mm.
I'm losing it.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
I'm getting
yeah.
swept away.
You know, you 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 ought to tell people what Zen really is, bro. I mean, a lot of people keep saying Zen, Zen, Zen all the time. I just don't think they understand what Zen really is.
Man, like I said, what the monk was doing, how he lived, that's
Yeah,
zen. That's zen for me. You
that's
know,
Zen.
like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
it's just moment by moment, existence in the purest
yeah,
form
yeah,
of that.
yeah,
But
yeah,
what I
yeah.
would say, it comes back like to, being able to again notice that. Like, I noticed that in the moment. I had my, suitcase with me, and there was like thousands of
Mm.
people rushing the other way, and I was getting annoyed because I was trying to find my wife. I didn't have bloody internet. And then there was
Yeah,
like people like rushing off to work, and like, hitting me, and like pushing my suitcase out of the way and things like this. And I was getting
yeah,
frustrated.
yeah, yeah,
But then I noticed that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like, I just had to bring myself back. I had to bring myself back
yeah,
and
yeah,
understand what the hell was happening in here. I'm in
yeah, yeah,
Tokyo,
yeah,
of
yeah,
course. This is what happens.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
and a couple of things that I learned from the monastery. There was this plaque that hung above the dining table, the dining room, the kitchen, that said, "A day
Yeah.
without work is a day without nourishment." Um,
Right, right.
and that's something that is obviously used in a literal sense, because we worked every day on the property, in the monastery, whether it was cleaning up, or helping cook food, or harvest from the farm, whatever it is, right? But it's also in
Mm.
a practical sense, in anything in life. If you don't practice anything, then you're not going to be nourished from a practice. You're going to wither
Right.
away. You're just going to slowly atrophy in your life. Um,
Yeah, yeah, agreed.
and then the second part, right? one of my favorite like sayings, this Zen Buddhist saying is that, you know, before enlightenment, because enlightenment is the ultimate goal of Buddhism, right? It says before enlightenment, chop wood and carry water. But it also says after enlightenment, chop wood and carry water, you know? So it really talks about the importance of simply, work is work. Work is like the foundation of life. You know, labor is the foundation of life in some way, whether it's like mental labor, you know, physical labor. If you're not working in some way, you know, towards some goal, then, you know, you're simply living to die, essentially, like you said, surviving.
Yeah,
you know? If you're not working on something. So that comes back to like mindful practice, you know, meditation, whatever it is. If you're not working at it every day, then it's going to leave you, you know, it's going to get the better of you. And this is, you know, as simple as it gets, you know. I came back to Sydney and I continue to practice. And I've never stopped practicing, you know, I've never stopped practicing. I practice every day, you know. Practice is my, you know, my way of life. You know,
how many hours do you spend in a day with spending time with yourself meditating?
Well, now it really just depends on how long I used to time myself, and I used to sit for like an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening. But, you know, I really just sit now, and it could range between, you know, 15-minute sit to an hour sit. It really just depends on how I feel now. So I guess that's like my maturity of my practice. I can feel that a little bit more and like direct that depending on what I feel like I need for the day. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Okay. Wow. Amazing experience, man. I mean, like I said, you know, I'm really motivated now just to try. Like you said before, you know, it took you 18 months, so I am so motivated now just to give it a go and give it a try. Not to hit myself that hard, you know. If I don't have the ability to stay focused for like 2 minutes, it's still a win, you know? And
Man, if it's like 2 minutes, look, like I said, it's a win. And like, you know, if it's a practice that changes your life, you know, it's going to take some time. It's really going to take some time. So give it that time that it deserves, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But see, the thing is, when it comes to practicing, like I've been working out for more than a decade now, and the one thing that I can actually enjoy is to be able to see myself, you know, as the result of me working out over the past couple of years, you know. I can understand that some people, they would actually come to me and ask for results instead of not appreciating, but going through the process, just like meditation. What if someone come to you, let's say me, coming to you and said, what can I get out of this meditation? Forget self-awareness, forget about living in the present. What can I get other than a state of calm in my head out of this practice?
Mate, like I said, it's as much, you'll get whatever you want from it, you know? You'll get whatever you want from it if you truly want it, you know? Like, you know, there's so much out there. Like, it can help you like manage stress, anxiety, you know, anger management, help you sleep better. 100%. Meditation can help you with all of that stuff. But those are just symptoms of the practice. Symptoms of the practice, you know? I can tell you the very last modules that I teach, you know, the most advanced ones, it honestly changes the way that you see the world, you know? And if you apply yourself, you know, to it the way that, you know, you with the greatest like level of intention to achieve that, it may not show like tangibly, physically, like, you know, when you're working out and you see the changes in your physical body.
Exactly.
But, you know, trust on this, you know, 6 months later, you know, of solid practice, even though you don't, you know, see the changes, you can look back on situations that you dealt with that are similar, and you would have dealt with them differently, you know, 100%. I guarantee you that, you know.
Right. Okay. So it'll give me, go on, sorry.
Yeah, but you understand what I mean. Like, you know, think about it this way, like a very easy example to use. Like, you know, before I started meditating, I had very severe road rage, you know, very severe.
Right.
I'd get very angry.
In Sydney, road rage, really? I mean, you should drive over here, man. Look, I mean, if you're driving Jakarta, I think you're gonna kill someone. I'm telling you.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was like. Look, even in Sydney, right? I had road rage, and I knew it. And afterwards, I would feel embarrassed. I would feel embarrassed afterwards because I acted like an idiot. But now, none at all, none at all. This is after like.
You don't feel embarrassed? You still having road rage and not feel embarrassed?
No.
No, not at all. No road rage whatsoever. All right, okay.
No road rage at all. Look.
All right, okay.
Because like you look at that situation and like the difference in how it like plays out in your mind. It's like what you don't know what happened to make this person cut you off or drive the way they are. That may have put you in danger. Perhaps they are rushing their pregnant wife to give birth. Perhaps there is some sort of medical emergency. You just don't know. There is an element of unknown in this person's story that you are not privy to. So how can you judge it? How can you judge it?
That's true. That's true.
Like I'll give you an example. That you relate to because it's like related to working out. Just like you. 10 plus years of working out. And before I got cancer, I was probably 13, 14 kilos heavier than I am now. Like, just muscle.
Yeah.
And I used to judge people who were smaller than me in the gym, and make fun of them, in my mind.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And
then I went through 8 months of cancer treatment and I lost about 16 kilos through that process, and I was back to my skinny frame, my skinny frame. And when I was able to go back into the gym, I sat down at the bench in front of the mirror and I was holding these very small dumbbells. And then I looked in the mirror and I saw the skinny kid that I was making fun of, in the mirror.
And he was lifting heavier than you.
It was me.
Oh, it was you. That was you. All right. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And then at that moment, I realized, I started tearing up in the gym and I couldn't finish the workout because, those kids that I was making fun of back then, judging back then, who knows what they went through, No one knows I went through cancer, but I was there.
That's true.
It gives that different perspective, allows you to think about it in that different way. There was always a story that you're not privy to. That can help you in how you react, to every situation. There's always something that is unknown to you. The only thing that is ever known to you is like inside yourself. So, it always comes back to that for me,
Exactly. Yeah. When it comes to our surroundings, it's the known unknown. We know that it's there. We just don't know what they're actually going through. That's why probably having a dialogue with less judgments and all of that would help, help us to better ourselves. All right, man. Listen, I think we're just going to close this out. Thank you again, Leslie. Brother, it's been a revelation, and I look forward for that module that you're going to send me out to try.
Sure, man. For sure.
Thank you for spending the time. Thank you for being here with me, bro. Thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me, man. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll speak again.
Yeah.
We'll
speak again soon.
Sure.
Yeah. We'll speak again very soon. All right. Thank you, man.
All right, brother. Peace.
Take care, brother. See you later. Take care, bro.